The blockchain pilot grants program provides $6 million, split over two projects or two pilots of $3 million each. Let's have a look at what this grant is actually saying. So you'll note that it's in the two sectors being the critical minerals and the food beverage sector. So that's the two that they're focusing on at the moment. Now, what you want to have a look at is obviously the objectives. So if I would be writing this, I would be trying to write it in a way that it meets all the objectives. So the main thing is to reduce compliance costs for business, ensuring the buy-in from regulators, bolster blockchain literacy and contribute to the overarching objectives of the national roadmap. Okay, so I need to look up what the national roadmap is. Develop blockchain solutions for government and showcase to industry. So what I note here is the showcase. This comes up a bit later on about showcasing it. And then supporting the inclusion in the broader policy. Okay, so the two areas are in critical minerals and the food and beverage. So let's jump in and look at the application. And the main area that I have a look at is the merit criteria. So this is what is actually assessed. So the other areas are not assessed, so not your project description or the project title. This is what is actually assessed. So, and I often look to see how they've split it. So there's 3 criteria normally, and they've split it 40 points for the first one, so 40%, and 20 and 25. So I'll just run through some of these items and what jumps out at me and how I would assess it. So you should demonstrate the blockchain objectives, how your project will achieve the blockchain pilot objectives. So that we need to know what the objectives are. So I would go and write down the 5 objectives. I'll just scroll in here. So I think it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would do a heading on each of these 5 areas, these dot points. So reduce compliance costs for business. So I would demonstrate this by actually working out what is the compliance cost or what is the reduction, the amount of saving that you're going to produce by integrating blockchain into that industry. So I would say, I would lead in by saying this pilot aims to confirm that there would be a 23% saving by integrating blockchain into whatever is the cost analysis for that area. The other area is to ensure buy-in from regulators. So this grant is actually a collaborative approach, or it mentions very much a collaborative approach. So if you do not have a regulator on board, then I would not bother applying. So make sure you have a regulator involved in this. And that's going to be key in getting that on board. Bolster blockchain literacy and contribute to overarching. So this is a 2-part. So bolster blockchain literacy. So many of us have heard about blockchain. Many of us don't know what blockchain is. So how are you going to improve that for the industry? So talk about the learning, how you do, increase the education level of everyone in that industry, and obviously get buy-in to actually use it. Then we've got develop blockchain solutions for government and showcase to industry. So showcase. So how are you going to get the message out there that this is a great solution for industry and for government? So you might be doing some roadshow, you might be doing some, Zoom webinars to increase it. You might be producing some, some CPD for people in the industry to deliver. Here's a subject on blockchain. This is how it's relevant to industry. So that's what I would integrate into it, and it's something the regulator could obviously deliver as well. And then inclusion of blockchain into a broader policy work to increase management capability. So I would maybe write a bit of a policy paper that could be given to the government to integrate into the policy. So if you can make it easier for government to initiate, that's what I would do. So back to the application form. So that's what I would do for the objectives. How your project will demonstrate the ability of blockchain product to meet the needs of industry regulators and reduce regulatory compliance burden for business. So another 2-part question, often worth breaking these up into separate headings. So what are the needs of industry regulators? So why do they want to have blockchain, or what is the fallback scenario? So what is the fallback scenario? Why do they need it? And this comes down to the regulatory compliance burden. How are you going to reduce the compliance burden? So you might be deleting a number of steps. There might be a lot of manual labour. There might be a lot of paperwork. A lot of auditing is often done. So which steps are you eliminating? So I would go and list each step that you're eliminating, and then maybe put a cost or time element against that. And then obviously the security around all that sort of information. How your blockchain product will be unique, add value, and not duplicate products already in the market. So the question is, if it's already in the market, then why isn't it being done? So your solution may exist off the shelf. So I would look for ways to make it look different, even though it's maybe the best solution out there anyway. So I don't know enough about the solutions that are already in the market, but that would be questions that I would ask. Why can't we just get something off the shelf? So try to look for ways that you are different in that area. And then how you promote and support Australia's blockchain startup community. So you might be doing some industry nights, you might be doing some Zoom, you might be doing some education, you might be doing some YouTube things, you might be doing a bit of TikTok, a bit of Instagram, a bit of Facebook. So I would touch on all of those, how you're getting that message out there to the community. I would even talk about numbers of people that I would be involving in the startup community. What roadshows are you doing? How many webinars are you producing? You might be meeting with all the local blockchain communities from different industries and helping get that information out there. So that is 40% of your application. Now we move on to the viability and security of your blockchain solution. So the blockchain protocols or systems you expect to use. So this comes down to, I guess, your knowledge of blockchain and what you're going to deliver. And so not knowing enough about blockchain at this point in time, whether your blockchain ever has been the subject of a successful hack, such as a 51% attack or other security feature. So, if it's been attacked, then it's not going to look very good. So come in with a measure if that is at all possible. You might talk about the amount of use that it's being used, the amount of attempted attacks. So any measures you can put in here is going to look good on an application. How your blockchain will verify real-world data and prevent the input of fraudulent data, for example, by using oracles or other authentication techniques. So if you're from the blockchain community, you will know what that means. So when I write an application, I say, what are the top steps? Why is it the best that's out there? Why can't others do this? So the more unique you can be, the more you can quantify what you're doing, the better it's going to look. Whether your blockchain solution will feature one or more cryptocurrencies, if so, why these are necessary for the functioning of a protocol. So just reading that and not knowing enough about cryptocurrencies, I would say, why do you even need cryptocurrencies? So it looks to me that you, because I don't think they want to be tied down to a cryptocurrency. So if you can do it without cryptocurrencies or having generic cryptocurrencies, that to me sounds good just on the top level, just reading what they've written there. But you'll know more if you're in that industry. Any regulatory license that are required and if not already obtained, how you plan to obtain. So make sure you've locked down any licenses that you need. That may involve getting a letter of support from whomever is in charge of those licenses. And they could be a good industry partner. And so the last part, so 25%. So this is stuff you can't really change. This comes down to who you are and what you've done in the past. So 25 points. So this comes down to your partners. So you want to have a good mix of regulators, researchers and leaders in that field. This is not for startups. So government is very low risk. They're giving out one grant for each of these industries. So you need to be the best, the most low risk. The government doesn't want to seem to be giving it to a startup and that money is just wasted. So they're going to give it to the biggest and best looking entities on paper. So make sure that you look good on paper, and if you are not a big player, make sure you partner with a big player that has been involved in project delivery. Because obviously, you or your partners have a track record in managing similar projects. So this comes down to project management. How many government pilots have you run in the past? That would be something that I would look for. Access to personnel with the right skills and experience and management. So, they've got to be obviously experts in blockchain or experts in project management. You also leverage off your other people, or here we are, the other partners. The extent to your project involves Australian blockchain or similar technology industry partners. So you've got to have the industry blockchain partners. So these partners may be on other applications as well, but just try to find the best that you can put on there. Because they're only giving out one application. How your solution will solve known technical challenges such as legacy systems inoperability. So obviously you need to go and talk about that section. You may want to put an attachment. I haven't checked for attachments, but there may be an attachment section that you want to put in, because that can't be answered in, it's like 2,000 words or something like that. So that might need to be expanded in a bit more detail. So your plan to manage the project, addressing the scope, implementation plan, and other risks. So I would normally go and put a 2 to 3 page risk management plan detailing all the risks involved in this project and generic projects. So what if you can't find the right people? What if the project takes too long? What if a partner drops out? Issues around any sort of regulation or the licensing. So go through a whole list of them. Even if they seem like minor risks, go and document it anyway. So this area is judged on weight. So someone, which I've done this and seen this in the past, someone says that we see no risk in this project, does not score as highly as someone that writes 5 pages of all the potential risks, all the mitigation strategies. That looks better. So you are judged on paper. And you must attach a separate project plan, including a detailed budget. I've got a good project detailed budget. It's a bit different for this one, but very similar, about very explicit about when you're spending the money, more of a cash flow analysis. So when you're spending money each month, and then if it's going to span financial years, you'll need to segregate it per financial year. And then section 4, we've got 15 points. The impact of grant funding. This one should be fairly easy, because it's not so much a private business trying to get any value out of this. So any additional investment or contributions your project will leverage, support from partners, investors in your new product. So I would talk about any physical dollars, hard cash that's being put up for this project, and this one's going to be mainly about the in-kind money that's going out. So you might talk about, even when you do your showcasing, there is time involved in that. So how are you quantifying the dollar value from that? But cash is going to be king on this, and then obviously the in-kind cash as well. So talk about that. Your strategy to maintain the blockchain solution beyond the duration of the grant. This is quite common in grants. They want you to be sustainable after the project period. So how will this be carried on, implemented after the project? So it's going to reduce the regulatory burden. So obviously there's a dollar savings. This would need to be instituted, and so obviously the dollar savings. So maybe it's being funded from that area. I don't know whether 6 months is enough time to get this implemented, but this solution can't be a cost going forward. So it needs to spin off money in some manner. And the broader value of the project and how it will benefit Australian businesses, including spillover into other industry sectors. So I would talk about the dollar value saved by this project in that industry. And then you would talk about, once you're doing the showcase, that if related industries took this up, so there may be in the alcohol industry, any other sort of regulated industries where it's about provenance, talk about if the cheese sector took it up, or the champagne sector took it up, it would save whatever dollars. And you may also leverage across, if blockchain's been done in any other pilots or any other industries around the world, you can use that other metric as well. So your solution might save 15%, and that's been backed up by overseas, which has saved 10%. So therefore, if your solution went into another Australian industry, their cost is say $50 million a year, you're going to save 10%, so there's $5 million saving a year, and there's X number of industries around Australia, so therefore there's some big dollars that you're going to save if your project, your blockchain solution is taken to the rest of Australia. So that's a good snapshot of how I would address this grant. Hit me up if you need any more information on how to address it.